This episode is not sponsored, but we encourage you to help support the small businesses, charities, and organisations that we mention.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Our Circle. I'm Rhiannon.
And I'm Jess.
And today we're finally talking about something that I've wanted to talk about for so long. It's something that I really, really love, which is ASMR. I don't know if many of our listeners know what ASMR is, but for those who don't know, it stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, or sometimes Auto Sensory Meridian Response. And in short, it basically means tingly sort of sensations, but I'm going to give you a little bit more of a scientific breakdown if you don't mind and can bear to listen to me talk about this. But I just wanted to try and actually break it down for anyone who doesn't really understand, because I think there's quite a lot of judgment about it. And I kind of understand why, if you're not in the know, shall we say, about what ASMR is, or if you don't experience these types of feelings, it's just probably going to sound really weird. So stay with me. So it's a tingling sensation that usually begins at the scalp or on the scalp and moves down the back of the neck and the upper spine. And it's a pleasant form of paresthesia, I think is how you pronounce it, which is basically an abnormal sensation on the skin. So tingling, prickling, chilling, burning, numbness with no apparent physical cause. And it's been compared to auditory tactile synesthesia. I don't know if I'm saying these words correctly. Sorry, but these are the words. And that is basically when certain sounds can induce sensations in part of the body. So for example, if someone hears a certain sound or word, it can make them feel like they're being physically touched in part of their body. And it's usually like a pleasant sensation. It's not like a bad sensation as such. And it sort of overlaps with the same thing as frisson, which is basically like goosebumps. So when you get like the goosebumps, or so many other words for that, isn't it? It's kind of like that. So ASMR basically signifies the subjective experience of low-grade euphoria. So a combination of positive feelings and a distinct static-like tingling sensation on the skin. So it's commonly triggered by auditory or visual stimuli. So a lot of scientific words of saying sounds and certain visuals make you feel good. I've been an ASMR lover for over 4 years. I discovered it on YouTube, and when I was looking up just the sort of sciencey words behind it all to try and make some sense of it for everyone, it kind of made sense why it came into my
circle.
yes, in my circle, an algorithm, I guess, around this time, because apparently by June 2018, 13 million ASMR videos had been published at this point on YouTube.
Wow.
And so many of them were coming to me. Like so many of those videos I was finding, I can't honestly remember how I got into it. And I don't remember what I stumbled across to get to where I did, where I was like, oh, ASMR. I keep seeing these letters ASMR in all these YouTube videos. But I remember a couple of the earlier ones by particular ASMRtists where it was things like hair brushing, like the sound of someone brushing their hair. And I was like, oh, that's really relaxing to listen to. Or people sort of speaking very quietly. And I was like, oh, this is actually really nice. And I don't even remember how I got onto it. When you just fall into that sort of YouTube rabbit hole where you've clicked on a video, and I must have been on something like ocean sounds or something like that. And then that took me to something else. And the cycle continued. But I think I've mentioned this before in episodes. I'm someone who really reacts to sound, whether it's loud noise. And again, I can react negatively to sound. Sometimes I feel very overstimulated by sound, and it completely physically affects me. It can make me feel really sick and nauseous. I don't know if you actually have any type of response to sounds like that, Jess.
I think I've definitely experienced overstimulation in the past 3 years.
Something that you've nearly got a 3-year-old.
Yeah, crazy. Just that kind of constant noise.
Right.
I'm someone who needs to take myself out of those situations and have a little bit of quiet time. So definitely little to no noise for me is very calming. But I don't think, I've not been someone who's felt like I've needed to look up things like calming ocean sounds and things like that. I know that can really, I think, having worked with autistic children before, I know that I've, like, when they've been overstimulated, because that can be that's something that's very, like, a very common sensory
Yeah.
reaction for autistic children and autistic people, is feeling overstimulated, and loud noises being really overwhelming for them. So I can understand how it would calm and soothe someone who's overstimulated completely, having sort of quiet sounds. And like you said, if it gives you that kind of physical reaction where it
Mm.
calms your body,
Mm.
I think it's really interesting, the
I
idea
think,
of it.
me too. I think the whole science behind it all fascinates me as well, because I'm like, why am I experiencing this and someone else isn't? So, for example, if something that triggers me in a pleasant way with ASMR might not necessarily trigger you, and it's like, what, I wonder why that is. Why it is that I'm enjoying this and someone else isn't. I suppose
Mm,
it's like food in that sense, and in some ways, like someone might like a taste more than others, and same for music, all that sort of
yeah.
stuff. But it is interesting how it does really cause those physical feelings, even though it's a mental stimulation, I guess. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, audible one, I guess. And I've spoke with a lot of people about this. Some of my friends are really into it. I've even gone to an ASMR exhibition about it, and we were actually doing quite a lot of reflecting when we were talking about ASMR in our life, because we realized it's not actually just ASMR videos that come into it, if that makes sense. Like, ASMR is mostly known as like YouTube videos and sounds and things that you can type in and online and then listen to, but there's actually things all around us that imitate that. And I realized how much ASMR has actually been in my life throughout my life. And part of me wonders, is this the part of us that we're all on the autistic spectrum and things like that?
Mm,
I think I am definitely, well, we all are, but you know what I mean. I think I'm quite into that into that spectrum there, because I was thinking back to when I first was, well, not even when I was first on YouTube, but there was certain times in my life where I would repeat things, not myself, but I would watch things. So, for example, if I was listening to an interview on YouTube,
mm.
and say the way that someone said something, clearly it must have been a trigger. Looking back at it, that was a clear trigger, but I didn't see it as that. I was just like, I like the way they said that. I wouldn't even think that, but my finger would automatically go to the part where they start saying that sentence, and I'd click it. But the thing is, I would repeatedly do it, and I didn't realize I was doing it until about 5 minutes of me repeatedly clicking.
Whoa, that's
Weird,
so
right?
interesting.
And I would do that with a lot of videos, and I didn't realize I was doing it until I'd sort of come out of it, like, oh, I wonder why I just did that. And then, but I'd come out of it, and I would literally just keep repeating it, going back and back and back, like a sort of an
So it's their
addict.
voice. So it's the way they're saying the
Yeah,
word.
yeah, maybe a word that they had said. It literally might have just been one word they said, and I was like, I like that, and I'd keep going back over it. And it was almost like I liked it so much, or my brain must have liked it so much that my body, like, subconsciously just made it keep repeating
Wow.
for myself. And so
Mm.
there's been things like that. And then I think about when I was a kid trying to get to sleep. And as we all know, I was an anxious child. I'm still an anxious person. But when I was a child and I was very anxious and I didn't like my mum leaving me when I was going to sleep, she used to do certain things to try and get me to sleep, or to try and make me calm and feel soothed. And one of the things that I loved was her pretending that I was being having face paint on my face. So she
Oh,
would like draw with her finger on my face. And I suppose that's like,
my mum used to do that to me
yeah, it's like almost
around
like
my
massaging,
iPad.
isn't it? It's almost like a massage
Yeah,
on your face. But I
yeah.
would get her to describe what she's doing. So she would have to tell me what color she was putting on. If she was putting on glitter, she would sort of flutter her
Oh.
fingers on my face. And I mean, obviously, I know that's it sounds so funny, like, listening to it, but I think these all add into the type of way that I'm stimulated, and the way that I find that type of calming pleasure in my body without necessarily so much physical contact. I just think it's interesting that there is probably, maybe not for everyone, but I think that there are certain triggers that are naturally around you, or certain things that you might not realize are actually quite calming to you. Like, some people, they can't be in a room with complete silence. Like, they might need some white noise that they put on, especially during the pandemic. Actually, a lot of people were playing office noises from YouTube, stuff like that, just to try and make different sounds to make them feel calm. And I just think it's a whole interesting experience just to see what works for people. And when I went to the exhibition a couple of weeks ago, one of the main things that they had was a whole bunch of different TVs, and it was sort of like a room made of cushions so everyone could lie down and have a nap if they want. I was so for this. But there were so many different TVs playing different things, and some of them just wouldn't work for me. I was just like, nah, this isn't relaxing to me. But then another thing would be, and I would see someone else sort of reacting the same way but not finding what I was watching relaxing. So
Got
yeah,
their own comforts in
yeah,
certain.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So there are so many different types of ASMR. There's honestly hundreds of types. It's not just the whispering that people think, because I think that's what so many people
That makes me feel uncomfortable.
right. Well, do you know what's weird? I cannot stand in real life people whispering because I don't like the air in my ear. I'm like, get
Yeah,
out.
I'm like, why are you so close to me? Like, this is weird. Yeah. Oh,
But
makes
I
my
think
skin crawl a bit.
yeah, but then when you're listening to ASMR, well, the thing is, you can listen to it so many different ways. You can either have like your headphones on or earphones in, or you can just have it just playing out loud. I do all of those. But the part that I like is that there's no actual like heat or air going into my ear, if that makes sense when it's
Yeah,
whispering. So it's literally just the
right.
sound as opposed to the
Whole physical
yeah.
sensation with it. Right.
But
Okay.
however, I get that a lot of people just don't like whispering at all. And there's loads of other different types of triggers. But I wondered, what sort of things do you find relaxing? And have you ever used apps before for example, like guided meditation or yoga or audible books, things like that, like people reading? Did you ever find that relaxing when you were younger, or in
Do
general now?
you know what is it like? What does it feel like to be relaxed? Honestly, I couldn't tell you that feeling. um, well, Ree knows I'm quite a highly strung kind of person, and I don't know. I think I said at the beginning of the episode, if I have little to no noise, that's when I feel relaxed, because I feel
Right.
like my everyday is full of quite a lot of noise.
Right.
But
Okay.
I have definitely used Calm before, the
Yeah.
Calm app. I think I used like the free part of it where you
Yeah.
just listen, you can listen to some sort of calming sounds.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure I have put on classical music before, and like at a lower volume, just quite
Mm.
like in the background, because I'd like read some sort of research on how it helps you to study, and it goes whatever. I don't know. I
I
don't know
love that
that
yours was
what
like for academic gain, not for relaxation at all.
Yeah, true. Actually, that's not a very relaxing situation, is it? Like I said, what is relaxing?
Okay,
Um,
well, this might actually be a good doorway for you.
maybe.
Or
Do you know what
gateway doorway.
I do enjoy? Like if I have a bath, I
Hmm.
do enjoy listening to podcast, for example, or some. I
Okay.
do enjoy listening to something when I'm in the bath, relaxing, sort of hands free, just
Mm.
kind of have like maybe some candles on, like the lights are low,
Mm.
and I'm listening to someone talking. And actually, someone's voice that I did really enjoy listening to was George Ezra. So George
Okay.
Ezra did a podcast, and I found his voice very relaxing, and I don't know how to explain it. He never has like a really animated voice. Like it's always
Okay.
very chilled and calm. And I found that very pleasant to listen to. And it sounds very much like his singing voice as well. So
Oh,
I think,
interesting. Quite deep
yeah,
then, and like,
yeah, kind of melodic, and like I
yeah.
really like listening to his podcast, and I found that relaxing. So yeah, maybe it's a certain type of voice. Like I'm sure, do you have certain ASMR artists that you always go to?
Yes. So I am subscribed to about 40 ASMRtists on YouTube,
Wow.
but yeah, I counted before this episode. And on TikTok, there's a massive ASMR community for live streaming. I'm a big on watching live streaming videos on TikTok because the ASMRtists respond to your requests, which is just perfect. So if you're wanting someone to start tapping on the microphone, you're like, yes, okay, do this now. It's almost like having
Wow.
a personalized ASMRtist to get you to sleep sort of thing, which is so
Yeah.
nice. And sometimes, to be honest, I've listened to ASMR at every single point of a day and night. So I've woken up in the middle of the night, maybe from a bad dream, and I'm like, do you know what? If I put on some ASMR, that might calm me down. And it's literally something as simple as me typing in ASMR for calming down nightmares or something like that. Someone's made a video for that.
Okay.
I've had a panic attack before, and I haven't wanted to like maybe bother friends or family, and I've just thought, you know what, if I have an ASMR artist for panic attacks and it's someone literally talking to you and calming you down in a really soothing voice, and it works for me. So there's
Mm.
things like that. And then there might be something where I'm just like, I could really deal with someone just tapping on a piece of wood right now. I don't know why. I just think that might work for me right now. And like I'll find it that there's literally an ASMR artist for every type of desire you might need, which don't get me wrong, I do understand that can get a bit creepy and some people have some line concerning
Right. Very
things.
niche sort of noises.
Yeah, there are some things that I do not get on board with. One of those is I'm not a fan of mouth eating noises. I don't like that in person,
Mm.
let alone.
I was about to tell you about some. So I have watched some, like, I don't know how you pronounce it. I think it's
Mukbang.
mukbang,
Hmm.
yeah, videos. And I didn't watch it for ASMR purposes. I was just watching it to like see what people eat. And
Yeah.
like almost it was almost for a time where like maybe I was like really craving something, but I was like, no, I don't actually want to eat it. So I don't know why I was like, right, okay, I'll watch someone else eat all this kind of like macaroni cheese and like all these really
Yeah.
nice things. And also there would be people who do these mukbangs and they do all the like sounds and stuff like that, which I find a little bit gross because I've got this thing where I think Joe does it quite a lot. He like chews really loudly, and I find it really. I literally
It's
death
not very
stare at him.
pleasant.
I literally look at him. I'm like, "What? That is the most disgusting sound your mouth is making. Please stop." And every time he sees me, he's like, and then starts like chewing a lot quieter. And I'm like, "Good." But no, also they tell stories as well. Like some are like quite niche, so they'll do like one would do. I know you don't like things like this, but like true crime type things. Like they'll
Yeah.
tell
Yes,
stories whilst they're
that's
eating.
a really big ASMR community for
Is
true crime.
it?
And I'm not, yeah, so many people love listening to true crime to get to sleep. I'm like, you are freaks, in my
Kind of,
opinion.
there's a lot deeper issues going on there, I think.
But at the same time, I also don't want to yuck someone's yam, you know, like if someone's enjoying
Mm,
something and it keeps them calm. Don't
yeah,
really understand that, but I'm glad it keeps them calm, I guess. But yeah, that's just each to their own, I guess. But I was just sort of going to talk about a couple of the ones I've written down, some of the main ones that I enjoy, or the ones that I'm a lot more familiar with because they're the ones that I go to. So like you said, story time, people just reading stories, that's quite cool, like especially if there's like a book that you might like. So and also on the
mm,
Calm app and Headspace, I believe, especially the Calm app, that they always have celebrities reading
mm,
stories or telling stories, and that's just like, to me that's just almost like being a kid again, like having your mum or dad read you a
yeah.
bedtime story, but
That
as
that
an adult.
reminds me as well, like CBBS do
Yes.
story times with celebrities as well, and
Yeah,
that feels like the same kind of thing, like trying to calm kids down
yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
evening time. So yeah.
Basically I'm a big kid. But yeah, story time is something I don't always go to that, but I do like it. One that I thought you might like just because you mentioned George Ezra is ASMR singing. It's basically where people sing but very calmly and quietly, so it's like not quite like a lullaby. There's an artist that I like, she's a singer, what's her name, Elena Castillo, I think her name is, and she is a normal singer, but then she'll also put on ASMR singing or ASMR style singing where she covers songs. So for example, you know how everyone's obsessed with Kate Bush running up that hill from Stranger
Yeah.
Things at the moment. She did a version of that, and it's just so it sounds like Billie Eilish. You know how Billie Eilish is really sort of
Yeah.
not a
Mhm.
lot of like power, but it's still calming and just that really gentle voice. It's basically like that. I really like
Okay.
those. The one as well that I haven't actually spoken about is it's not so much sound as well, it's the visual triggers. So I'm someone who likes watching things as well. I don't always like
Yeah.
just listening, and some of those heavily come into the role play side of ASMR. So someone who might recreate a spa where you're checking in. So they've like set up a computer and they're tapping on the keys, and it's like the whole process of going and
Wow.
checking into either a spa or a hotel. Flights, like flight attendants, like them being like treating you as if you're in first class. Not that I would know what that's like, but you know, they're like sort of saying, oh, here's your towel and here's this, and that it's sort of giving you that element of, oh yeah, I'm going to a calming thing, like, oh, I'm going on
Mm.
vacation, I'm going to have a spa treatment or something, stuff like that, where they're trying to stimulate that feeling for you, I guess. But
Yeah.
the one that is so popular and is definitely a favorite of mine and many people I know is a cranial nerve exam. And it's basically where someone's getting a light and they're shining it in the camera and they're moving their hands up and down, and they're basically asking you to follow the light. It's like having an eye test or something. So they'll be like,
Right.
look to this side, or they'll be like, right, look at my nose, but the light's going to move. And there's something about it that's so tiring but soothing, because they usually have it might be like a really dark room, so all that you can see is their torch and maybe like their microphone, so you're just seeing this light move around. And I suppose it's the same concept as, you know, like maybe counting sheep or something. It's something that's just repetitive, it's rhythmic and tiring. So it makes you sleepy.
Right. Okay.
And sort of having to follow instructions. So those come into other types of ASMR, like fast and aggressive. So it's where someone's like, follow this, follow this, follow this, and you're just sort of like following, and it's quick, and sometimes it's a bit like, ooh, okay, this isn't for me. And then sometimes I'm like, no, I actually need that to try and help myself concentrate. So it depends. Like I said, I've listened to it all different times of day. I've had nighttime ones where it's a bit more soothing, sometimes in the day if I want to work, but I want something continuing to feel calm, and not, especially if I'm feeling anxious in the day, I'll usually put on someone just like a story time or them tapping on things, because there are certain triggers for me that I know calm parts of my body. So I know that if I've just got that subconsciously in the background, I know that I'm calm, so I can just carry on with things. Does that sound weird? I don't know.
No, I was just sat here thinking your YouTube history, like search history, must be so interesting. Like,
Very eclectic.
just thinking about like all of the different genres of stuff that you watch, like, and it just made me think of. So the other day we went round to Ree's, some of the girls and I, and Ree was just telling us about how like you introduced your dad to YouTube like years ago, and how he just has like found all these like random videos and stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah,
this is where you get it from. You discover so many like different areas from YouTube.
Yeah, I think I'm genuinely quite an inquisitive person, and I'm also, if I don't know something, then that usually creates an interest for me. So I'm like, okay, let me learn about it, and that takes you down a YouTube rabbit hole, in my opinion. So, or at least for me, I think I learn better through videos and stuff like that. Always have. So you know, it's a lot easier than me then going to a library and picking up a book. I thought I would just kind of round it off with a couple of my favorite channels that I think people should check out. I guess I'm kind of dedicating this episode to a bunch of these, and so we'll do a post of suggested ones, but the main ones that I thought I would bring up are very well-known ones and not so well known. One is called GBASMR. I've watched her for about 4 years. She's insanely popular, very well known. She was in the ASMR exhibition when I went in London, but she's from America. She's fantastic, does everything. She does a whole range of things. The same for the ASMR bakery. It's literally just someone who doesn't speak. It's just someone who just tries out so many different triggers and hours of it as well. Some people like Ting Ting ASMR did an 8-hour video of a flight. So she pretended
8 hours.
yeah, so it's like you're pretending that you're on a flight for 8 hours, but really it's for people like, well, actually, I guess people who go onto a plane, if they're nervous, that whole video would get them through it, I guess. Or like me, who plays it and goes to sleep, and then in the middle of the night, if you wake up and you're still on the flight, it's like, oh, okay, thank you, get me back to
Was
sleep.
that something on repeat, or was it literally 8 hours of recording?
8 hours of different content.
Wow.
Yeah, and in between, she would sort of come back in her flight uniform and be like, is there anything I can help you with? Here's this to sort of calm you down. It was just like,
Wow.
oh, the dedication that these people do is amazing. But the biggest one, and I think this is going to sort of make you laugh, the biggest one that gets me to sleep and is one of the most well-known videos in the ASMR community is Cardi B.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you've mentioned this before.
Yeah. So W Magazine has a playlist on their YouTube channel for getting celebrities to try ASMR. Some of them are just absolutely awful. They're taking the mick out of it. They don't really get it. And so I think a lot of the ASMR community are like, yeah, this is trash. But then some of them, especially the musicians, are just so in touch with it. It's like they get sounds, they understand sounds recordings. So they're so great at it. And Cardi B's is the most watched video on that channel. It's got.
Is it just her like with her nails like tapping, or
no,
like...
it's well kind of. She has so for anyone who doesn't know the setup of ASMR, you have a lot of different mics. Microphones do a lot of different things. The microphones that Jess and I use actually have 4 different functions. So you might have a microphone in the front, the back, and both sides, and therefore if you're making a sound like on the left hand side, that would actually correspond to the left hand side of your headphones and earphones. So it's sort of trying to create that
surround sound.
Yes, exactly. The one that Cardi B had, she had 2 microphones, so she was sort of going back and forth between both of them, And the W Magazine ASMR, their interviews. So she was sort of talking about, I think she talks about her album. It was a few years ago as well. So many people go back to it like me every week. She talks about motherhood, and because she was talking about motherhood quite a lot, at the end of it she's sort of playing with a child's wooden toy, and that makes quite a lot of tapping noises, and with her nails as well.
Oh, so it's actually an interview in ASMR form.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So she's
So
just speaking really
she's
in
speaking really
hushed
softly, but
tones.
she also understands how ASMR triggers work. So she might, for example, she would say, it gives me a very tingling feeling. Like she knew to repeat certain words that she knew would sound
Like
good.
articulate them in certain ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she might hold an S sort of thing like that. Like she knew how to do certain things really well, and she would also play up with the visuals. So there's a moment where she's holding like a furry blanket, and she's putting it up and down on the camera, and she's trying to tell you that this is like soft on your face. She's describing the feeling,
Okay.
and you're just like, oh my god, this is amazing. And so many ASMR artists went crazy for it because they thought that, you know, this is such a great what's the right word, like respect for the art of it, I guess. And so many fans had written in, and it's the most requested ASMR video to have a second, sort of like, people want more basically. And I think it came out maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I go on it on a weekly basis just because it's so relaxing to me. And there's usually a new comment every week saying, anyone still here, like 2022, still coming back to this 4 years later, and it's got a few thousand likes because everyone's doing the same thing.
Wow.
So I think
Has she responded at all to or said anything about
I
ASMR? Like,
haven't seen anything because I'm desperate for her to do another one. I wish she would
mm.
do like a full hour, and I would just buy it if I could. If
Right,
I could,
listeners, go and spam Cardi B.
yeah. Yeah. She's done it though on different interviews with different people. Like she did an interview with Lizzo and ASMR because it's really popular. Like ASMR as a thing is really popular, and I guess artists are aware of that because it's sound related, I guess. Maybe, I don't know, that they just giving the people what they want and playing along to crazes that are at the time, I guess. So yeah, anyway, that's someone that I definitely recommend, and I will put a couple of recommendations in the description, and obviously when we do a dedication post. But if you manage to find some type of calm or relaxation through ASMR or from whatever I've said, I'm really happy for you. If not, I completely get it. It is not for everyone, but if you're able to find that calm, I'm very excited for you. Hopefully Jess might find something calming in it once I've sent her some.
I'm open to it. If there,
Yeah.
you know, if there are lots of different genres and different sort of niche things to try, then I'm down for it. You know, it's just that sometimes I've had that feeling before where someone's a bit too close to your neck, and you get that weird kind of
Yep.
feeling. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
But maybe there's another type of sensation that I could get from listening to a certain type of ASMR that would soothe me. So it's definitely something that I would need to research and look into and give a go.
Maybe you need to type in people chopping up garlic.
Yeah, food related I can get on board with, yeah.
That's a real fun one, like people chopping up food. Like it's just
Yeah.
slicing into
I do
stuff.
like that sound of someone chopping an onion. I
Yeah,
find that quite
that's definitely on there.
there we go. Found my niche.
So I hope everyone's enjoyed listening to this. Let us know if you are also an ASMR listener and what your favorites are. And we will see you for our next episode. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.